Question today is whether you're still teachable. It's going to come from a thought from George Leonard's Mastery, which I read from the other day with a little more green screen activity than I had today. We're reading some other books, really enjoying this one. Talk more about that a future time. But again, this is George Leonard's Mastery, not to confuse with the other book called Mastery, which is not by George Leonard, a very different book. I'm not actually going to do a detailed reading of it this time, so much as just want to talk about a story from it. Just double checking Mike's plugged in. And here it's called The Tale of Two Experts. And it's the tale of Russell and Tony. Russell and Tony both have been practicing martial arts for many years in different disciplines. So like for context, let's see here. Tony's got a background of 31 years old, 4th degree karate black belt, and was owner of 2 karate schools. And the question is about how these two different people approach learning Aikido. That being what George Leonard's background's in. And these two experts have the challenge of Russell. It shows from day one that he's got experience. It's coming through immediately that he already knows his other martial arts because he's doing things the way that they would do them. He's not actually taking the feedback from the instructor or going through the exercises like everyone else is supposed to be doing at that introductory level. Tony, by contrast, shows no signs of that prior training and effectively does what everyone else is doing. Or to put another phrasing, he was the... Tony revealed himself as a fellow traveler on the path of mastery. He doesn't let the past ways of doing things throw off how he's doing them. This, of course, affects all the time what I'm doing with Gamkido, where we have people come into it to learn game development. We have a certain way that we do things in Gamkido. And some people either want to skip way ahead to the end of it, and typically that's a sign that they're not going to make it that far, or it's a sign that someone else comes from a substantial background, sometimes a just vastly incompatible background. Not even going to go so far as to say wrong, sometimes wrong or bad, but quite often simply just grossly incompatible. And they keep trying to shoehorn in their outside way, their prior way of doing things, rather than learning, here's how we do things here. And again, it's a lot to do with coherence, a lot to do with how the pieces fit together. It very much would be like, and it's the case of these tales of two people from George Leonard's Story and Mastery, like if somebody came to an Aikido practice and they'd spent many years prior doing, I don't know, Krav Maga or some other totally different type of martial art and keep trying to do things according to how they're done somewhere else. In Aikido, there's a certain way things are done. In Jiu-Jitsu, in Judo, in Karate, and Kung Fu, there's different ways things are done. And within game development learning, something that's not quite clear to a lot of folks, but has absolutely been the case for a very long time, is that there are absolutely completely different ways of approaching things. Ways which, as long as you do things in a consistent manner, can get you surprisingly consistent results. And as soon as you start trying to scrap together a whole bunch of them, you wind up with sort of no clear system, no clear progression, no way to build up progress. And this is precisely the problem that Russell and Tony had in George Leonard's Story, where the one who refused to do the introductory things the introductory way in the different martial art couldn't quite, metaphorically, put their feet into that ladder, into the first rungs of the ladder to begin climbing it, to become skilled in something new, to become skilled in something different. And that's what today's topic comes from of, are you still teachable? Is that someone can be quite good at something, or doing things a certain way, and if they're not careful, that can come to be a limiting factor on their continued growth. It can be what restricts them from learning other things. And now this doesn't have to be this way, this isn't innate, this isn't unsolvable. Often simply being aware that if we're not careful, our established strengths, our maybe semi-unrelated background can be a limiting factor for us, can help us become more conscious of how we can set those things aside, focus on doing things the way we're supposed to try to do them here in a new context, and through that, learn much faster. Through that climb a much steeper learning curve, through that complement the skills, strengths, and background we already have with different skills, strengths, and background. So that's stuff for the day, just to make sure, are you teachable? Can you become more teachable? Are you letting the experience and practices and trainings you already have get in the way of getting more out of your current and future opportunities? That's the idea for the day. Anyway, thank you as always for tuning in. I'll have another video for you all tomorrow.